All right, we're going to take a look at building elevations, and we're going to start first with the south elevation. So I'm going to be taking a look at how we're going to use our layers here and how we're going to use our drafting tools to develop our elevation. And this is based on our building cross section. This building cross section here shows you the materials and the material dimensions that we're going to be using to represent the cottage floor plan. So based on this building cross section, we're going to take a look at how we're going to develop our reference lines, our guides, so that we could begin doing the building envelope. And that would consist of showing the floor, showing the walls, and showing the roof profile. So let's take a look. All right. I would suggest that you have a layer that's just for your construction lines in elevation. And I would also suggest that you use the same layers that you have for your floor plan to represent the same elements in elevation. So first, what I would do is set up all the reference lines. Now, some distance away, okay, this is totally arbitrary, but some distance away, start with some horizontal lines. If I start with a construction line and set it for horizontal, just some distance away, I want to start with the ground plane. Now, just using offset, we'll be able to show the floor line, the header, and the roof plate. So if I offset 4 feet, this will represent the rough floor line. Now, I offset from the ground plane here, the grade, I offset towards the top 4 feet. The remaining offsets would be relative to the ground. Now, keep in mind that while you draw, okay, typically we want to make sure all the things that we draw are set, their color and their line weight is all set by layer. But since this information we're not going to use for the floor plan or be printed, we could do whatever we want to clarify this line work. And by that I mean this, that if I wanted to represent this differently, then what I could do here is just by entity change its color. It's still on the same layer, but I've just changed the entity color. And this will help me to better or more easily identify what would be the ground versus the floor versus the header and the roof plate. So as we continue here, if I offset again, this time 6 feet 8 inches from the floor up, this will be my header. So I can make this a different color. Once again, if I offset this time 9 feet, but again from the floor, I'll make this my roof plate. So all I'm doing is on the same layer, just showing different construction lines that represent different vertical dimensions. Okay. Now, as I continue with the other elevations, let's say if I was doing the east, the west, and the north, all I would do here is take these lines and use the mirror command. At this point, I would double check my polar tracking. But all I would do here is create a copy of these guys at a 45 degree. So let's double check here my polar settings. There we go. At a 45 degree. So it is perpendicular to the other construction lines. And I'd be able to use these to represent the east elevation. Okay, and if I wanted to do the west elevation, I could do the same thing. I could just simply make a mirror copy over here. And you could see this is still the ground, this is the floor, header, and then the roof plate. So imagine if you have the 3D object here and you unfold or flatten the box. All right, so let's just focus on the south elevation for right now. Once you have this laid out like this, then you could start projecting rays. And the rays are going to help you find the elements that you see in floor plan and locate them in the elevation. So for example, Again, if we take a look at our draw panel, you can see here's our construction lines, here's the rays. Rays are infinite in only one direction. What I'd want to do is consider what are the elements that you would see in elevation if you were standing in this area. You would certainly see the stairs, you would see the porch, you would also see the posts, you would see the railings, you would see, of course, the roof. For this facade, you would see the two windows and the door. Okay, so just think about everything that you're looking at if you're standing on this side of the facade. Okay, so from left to right, we could start here with the roof eave, project a perpendicular ray into the area of where you're going to have your elevation. Now, as you create one, what you could do is simply select, right-click, and use copy selection, use the same endpoint, and then go from left to right, picking out the elements that you would see in the elevation. First, I would start with all the major elements, the elements that would comprise the building envelope. And what would that include? That would include from top to bottom the roof lines, your walls, and your floor lines. Then I would proceed with the openings and the architectural details like posts, columns, railings, and stairs. So if we first, let's locate the roof. So there we can see that we're going to see the ridge line up here. We can see the eaves on either side. And then in terms of the walls, okay, the walls, I'm going to go to the finish of the wall there. But I'm also going to show the base walls, and I'll explain that in just a minute, okay? Let's come back. And as we're going from left to right, are there any changes in the wall facade? And as I continue, just the walls, I'll come back over here and do the same thing. So this is what we have as a result. Now, we can see that we have a gable roof, so that means that this side is going to be symmetrical to the other side. So that makes things a little bit easier as well. I could start on either side to draw the roof and just do half and then mirror the other half. If we take a look at our notes here, you're going to see that we have a 12/7 roof profile. Let's take a look at your notes there. And what we need to do is we need to outline these elements. So the reason why I projected the two lines of the base wall here is because our rafter starts and pivots on the edge with the outside line of the base wall here. Okay, now I'm going to need that in order to correctly draw the roof profile. All right, but the wall itself is going to be represented by this line right here. Right, you can see that as it's aligned with the finish. So let's see how we can block this out. I'm going to start over here with the roof plate line, and here you could see the inside and then the outside of the base wall. What I want to do here to show the roof pitch is start with a construction line. So I'll type XL and start here. Now, in order to show the slope, I can use relative coordinates to show the 12/7 slope. And that I'll do this way. At -12, because I'm going to the left, comma 7. That'll give me my roof slope. Escape. This represents the bottom. If you could see here, this represents the bottom of my 6-inch rafter. You can see how it's aligned right here at the double top plate, right? On the outside edge. Now remember, we're doing it this way because this is a truss system. This is pre-engineered. If we were building rafters or our roof from rafters from scratch on site, most likely we would be using this inside line as reference. So you could see based on the dimensions of the lumber members now, okay, so this is the bottom line at 12.7. You can see it reaches this high point here. So I could even trim using this construction line and trim there. And then over here, we have the eave, as you can see, projected from the floor plan there. So if I trim to this point here, I've got the rafter, the bottom line of the rafter that's shown there. Now, if I offset by 6 towards the top, right, that's the thickness of the rafter. Now, keep in mind, we need to show the finish. So once again, if we refer to our building section here, okay, depending on the type of finish that we have here, because we have our 1/2 inch ply, and then this is only showing you the structural. It's not actually showing you the finish. What could we have as finish? We could have asphalt tiles as finish. We could have Spanish tile as finish. We could have aluminum or metal roof as finish. So the finish thickness here is going to be different. All right? And it's only going to be 1 or 2 inches. We're still going to be accurate enough for architectural review or plan check. Okay? So here, if we just include that other little thickness, the 1/2 inch thickness there, okay, we have our 6 inches. If I offset one more 1/2 inch, right? This would be the total roof profile. And what I could do here is simply clean up the line work, okay, and just extend it here. But that pretty much shows you the roof profile, right? Now, to complete the envelope, here's what we could do. I think I have all the information I need right now just to do the rough outline. And we could do it like this. So starting from the top down, let's take a look at the roof. You'll notice that we have the roof layer, which is actually, let me show you that. It's in hidden line type, right? Because this is a layer property that shows the roof in floor plan. All right? We're using the same layer for our elevation drawing. We have a choice here. We could create another layer for all our floor plan elements as we would like to see them in elevation. So that means we could represent walls, doors, windows with different colors and different line weights for our elevation view. Let's just keep it simple, okay? We can still use this layer, but change the line type by property. So you already saw how we could change color. Now you're going to see line type just by entity. Okay, so here I am, a roof layer. And what I could do here is if I wanted to use polyline, and keep in mind that there's other Lisp routines, LISP Lisp routines, such as clone, in which I can basically select an entity, make a copy of it, and place it on another layer. All we're going to do here is just trace over our line work. Okay. You could also simply select the line work and then put it on the layer, right? And now trim the line work and adjust the line work. So we can go like this. We can trim this, right? And then we could select the line work and change the properties from hidden to continuous. So as we proceed here, what I could do is, again, if I wanted just to take this line here, I can take that and switch it to the correct layer here, the A wall layer, the exterior wall layer. Okay, and you can see that here's the floor line and then here's the grade, right? If I use trim, what I could be doing here is I could use this line to trim this half or this part of the wall, right? Because the wall will come right up to the finish there. And then down here at grade level, I can trim off the excess. And then here, if I wanted to show a little bit of difference in line weight, well, I could break the line. If I break it here, I could just simply extend it. This part would be represented as A floor stairs, right? This is the raised floor. Okay. Now, what do we have so far? Well, let's do this first. Let's select all the line work that we do have. And now, if I mirror using that middle ridge line, and when I freeze the construction line layer, this is what I have so far, right? Now, we definitely want to represent the ground plane. So what we'll need to do is actually draw in the line there, and we could use layer 0 for that. That would give us, for example, that would give us a little bit of weight to the drawing view if I just simply draw a line that represents the ground plane here. And later on, once we finish talking about showing the details like the railings, the soffit, the stairs, we could start looking at hatching and color and pattern to really illustrate the materials that are being used for the finish. And of course, we could finish with annotations to show dimensions and show annotations. This is what we'll look at in greater detail in the following sessions.